If you're listening to this, there's a good chance you work within the real estate investing industry. There's another good chance that you would like to increase the sales of your products or services. Well, you're in the right place. United States Real Estate Investor is a platform you need to place your brand directly in front of your target audience. With our focused, growing audience of real estate investing beginners, enthusiasts, and seasoned professionals, you can continually reach our captivated viewers and listeners with ease. To learn more or to get started today, just visit UnitedStatesRealEstateInvestor.com/advertising. That's UnitedStatesRealEstateInvestor.com/advertising. Get ready to increase your brand awareness and your bottom line. Attract clients with content.
Universe Media Network.
Welcome to our year-end episode of This Month in Real Estate Investing, where we separate the noise from the news. I'm your host, James Brown, and I show people how they can make safe, secure returns through real estate. In this episode, we'll be breaking down a variety of real estate investing news items, including rent control drew a line, 1031 and bonus depreciation survived, and recession-proof assets failed. Don't forget, if you're watching live on YouTube, you can share your thoughts and questions during the show. Let's start the show. All right, our guests today are Paul Anderson, Joseph Bodick, Claude Diamond, Alina Herman, Dominic Danino, and Gabrielle Simmons. In that order, well, I'll just read it off. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves, share your background, and what types of investing you focus on. So we'll start with Paul.
Good morning, everybody. So I'm Paul Anderson. I am the founder of Vertical Funding Capital, and what we do is we specialize in helping commercial real estate owners, residential builders place capital so they can fund their projects. My background in real estate probably starts when I was about 8 years old, working in the basement of my dad's real estate brokerage. So I've been around everything from residential sales, development, finance, construction, all what I would think if it sits on dirt, I've probably been involved with it. And as far as my investments go, I would like to think I'm fairly diverse, but probably not as diverse as some of the other guests. But I've got some short and long-term holds. I've got some vacant land holdings, and then I'm involved in 2 syndications right now and some commercial projects.
Fantastic. Thanks, Paul. Joe.
Hi, guys. I specialize in lease options, 2 forms, wholesale lease options that work quite a bit like traditional wholesaling, and sandwich lease options. I also teach wholesaling, and I also teach a program that I invented called the Ultimate Automated Lead Machine, which is a guide on how to work with wholesalers to get their dead leads and turn them into cash deals using lease options. I've been in the real estate business for, well, I was birthed in the real estate business, actually. Actually, my dad was one of the biggest builders of residential properties in the country, so I worked for him for a number of years before I went on my own, went into creative real estate, and learned a lot from a fellow here today, Claude, who was one of my old mentors. So it's always good to see him.
Thank you.
And he's very good at what he does. And that's pretty much what I do. And I work with a lot of students, teaching them basically how to work with. My major is lease options, so that would be my specialty.
You're in good company.
It's good.
Cool. Awesome. Claude.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, you asked for my background. Here, let me take you literally.
Yeah.
I'm in Winter Park, Colorado. I also live in San Diego and North Carolina. Been doing real estate for 32 years. I'm only 36. I've written 9 books on real estate and sales. My big thing right now is sales. I think no matter how many strategies, and I love lease. This house I'm in right now, I lease purchased for $5,000 down. Today it's worth $3.2 million free and clear. It's one of the best deals I ever did with Joe was talking about options and lease options. I love that because that was my main strategy because I didn't have a lot of money when I got started. When you're watching the rent and stuff like that. The one thing I find that most well-intentioned, knowledgeable investors are missing is sales skills. Sales is the $1 million skill. A lot of people talk about a lot of strategies. A lot of people talk about a lot of money and for marketing and stuff. No matter how smart you are and how much money you spend on marketing, can you speak to another person directly and convert them, get a contract, get a deal quickly? So that's my big mission today, teaching people how to be a little different in sales. I invented a system called GUTS, Great Untraditional, Unorthodox Techniques of Sales. Free book for anybody. My phone number's right down there somewhere. Free books to anybody who wants to learn my sales system. Just send me a text and I'll send you the books for free. Was that too long? I'm sorry.
That was fine. Thanks, Claude. Alina.
Hey guys, I'm Alina Herman. I'm here in Chicago area. I actually an immigrant, first generation. I moved here in 1999, and I've been all my life in real estate. It seems like I grew up in never-ending remodel. When I moved here, I was doing actually fixing the house back in Ukraine, doing some tech work, IT. I always had this plan of technology and real estate. And after getting into the corporate world here in the United States, I've done high availability, disaster recovery, all the high tech, and while still doing real estate. I think that real estate is always fun. It's about solving problems and facing all sorts of challenges. My favorite strategies recently been actively doing fix and flips and buy and holds, but we've done all sorts of other strategies depending on the market, right? But the past probably 6 or 7 years, I've been diving deep into the mindset. I got my real estate as a coach certification. I had actually been certified neurolinguistic programming trainer and hypnotherapy trainer, and it all helps to address the mindset. Right now, my technology company is developing on AI, and we are helping to convert leads from dead leads, or maybe doing the data analytics and purchasing. So there's a lot of different avenues that our software helping real estate investors and real estate agents to generate and convert more leads. So that's a little bit about me, lots of multidimensional things.
Fantastic. Dominic.
Hey everyone, good morning. I am Dominic Danino. I am a real estate investor and lender, going on 27 years in the real estate and lending space, and I offer a rent-to-own homes program for clients that don't qualify for traditional finance. Very simple. I've run the gamut on the real estate investor space, done the wholesaling, flipping, everything, right? But my main strategy is rent-to-own and mainly focusing on retail clients. And once they qualify for traditional financing down the road, then we get them refinancing to long-term financing.
Heck yeah. All right. Gabrielle.
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Gabrielle Simmons. I am the founder of Real Estate Deal Makers, which is now Colorado's largest investor network. I have a background in doing just about everything in real estate. As far as single family goes, my current personal venture is learning more about the commercial space and development, because that's what I haven't done yet. But I got into real estate after becoming a truck driver and started my own trucking company and was making a bunch of money and didn't know what to do with it. So I learned about sandwich leasing, actually, was the first thing I learned about in the real estate space and buying rental properties. And then I started wholesaling while I was on the road. And then decided to come back to Colorado and wholesale full time. I've done a lot of wholesale transactions over the last 6 years. I've also purchased or controlled through arbitrage some small multifamily, short-term rentals, doing the midterm rentals, lease to own. I love to see so many of you also do the lease to own. I feel like that's not very common, but it's a strategy that I like to utilize as well. And seller financing, actually, the condo that I live in that I purchased a few years ago, I bought on seller finance terms, and that's my favorite strategy to teach and to utilize for acquiring properties. Outside of that, Real Estate Deal Makers is now my main focus. It's a real estate hub. My primary duty every day is to be a connector. So our company is focused on being a space where people come to ask any and all real estate related questions, to find deals. We have our deal desk division, which is the concierge service for investors and wholesalers. And I'm just all about collaborating with others in the space as much as possible.
Good stuff. Last but not least, Antonio Holman, our founder and producer of the show. Nope, can't hear you.
Hear you.
See, I'm screwing up already. So no, this is weird because I'm like controlling everything as I'm actually on the show, which is out of the ordinary. So yes, my name is Antonio Holman. I am the founder, CEO of United States Real Estate Investor, real estate investing media platform. James has heard this a million times. So why have I created this platform? Because the school system in this country is a disgrace. So when you get old,
oh, you're off mute.
Huh?
Oh, sorry, I wasn't hearing you for a sec.
Oh, okay. Who knows? I got a new setup. It might be failing on me. So I created United States Real Estate Investor Platform to inform everybody about this path to create wealth, at least to get their foot into the door, to explore a little more about the industry, to learn more about the news aspects, the data, the freedom you can create for your friends and family. So that's why this platform exists. And this show actually does the same thing for a large audience of people eventually throughout the year with fine experts like we have today. So James has been the master of ceremonies, as they say, for the last 2 years. Yep. Just year 3. Man, it's been a while.
Going into year 3.
Yeah, I've enjoyed every moment of it, and I appreciate everybody who's ever been on this show. And there's a lot more to come. This still feels like the beginning, even though we've been doing this for a few years. So thanks for everybody being here. Thanks for everybody tuning in. And I want to see some comments. I want to see comments. So if you guys have a bone to pick with anything anybody says, please leave a comment. All right.
Nice. Cool. Well, thanks for everybody being on here today. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's like between Christmas and New Year's. I love the show, and I think it's valuable for us, just spitballing between us, but then just sharing what we've learned with everybody that's listening. So let's dive into the news. So this is a little bit different than our monthly show. This is kind of our year-end wrap-up. So each of these subjects is kind of a things that we saw multiple times pop up over the year. So I'm just going to read off kind of the title, for lack of a better word, and a quick summary, and then we can jump in and comment on how it affected us as investors and what we plan on doing going forward into 2026. So our first subject is a policy move that froze new development nationwide. So early this year, tariffs made steel and aluminum way more expensive, and a lot of new construction just stopped. And at the same time, stuff that was already built suddenly looked more valuable. So kickoff question, from your perspectives, what did you notice change in your businesses or other people that you saw around you? Who wants to go? Claude, let's go.
When they close the door, I open a window. And change is inevitable in this business. I've lived long enough to see a lot of different changes in real estate going up and down, interest rates going crazy, and all sorts of things. I got more into land. So the topic you brought up, it didn't affect me as much. Land is easy. I've bought recreational developed land in areas near golf courses, ski areas, beach areas like that, and I have enough cash flow. I advise people to get into this business and build up their passive income eventually, so that they can invest in low maintenance type of investing. And I'm at a stage in my career, in the beginning, all I did was I was a bill collector, a maintenance man, an attorney, a recovering attorney, and things like that. And, we had to do all the hustle and struggle. Today, I just do land. Land is easy. I write a check once a year for taxes. If I buy the right land in the right area where I see growth, I can make a tremendous capital growth. We have some properties here in Colorado we picked up with cash and options for 150 to 170, and they're worth 600,000 now. So to me, if the marketplace changes because of tariffs or government interference and restrictions on development and stuff like that, we have to change along with it. We have to have the ability to adapt.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the article actually to point out how this is going to change a lot in commercial real estate for about next decade. Not like we haven't had the changes with the fact that, work from home changed a lot. But what actually going to happen, it's doubling down on the tariffs, doubling down on the cost of the new real estate development, and that will impact affordability. We do not already have sufficient inventory, and with steel and aluminum going over 50% tariffs. This is a lot. And from my research, I understand that we are not going to be able to recover and provide the same amount of steel of aluminum with local manufacturing. We just do not have capacity in the United States at the moment, and to develop the capacity to gain the same amount of steel and aluminum would take us another decade. That said, we should expect that new construction that requires anything related with, high skyscrapers or anything that requires steel, mostly in aluminum, to build, will remain not that affordable. So that said, I would wait and see, and then probably place a different investment strategies, just like Claude said, just changing the strategy. That's all.
Yeah. Paul, are you building anything right now?
You know, we're working with some people that are building, and you know, the last couple of months have gotten a little bit better, but in the middle of the year, because we couldn't price anything. And so, you know, residential, what we saw in our marketplace, which is we are one of the most overheated markets in the country right now. Residential really kept moving right along because we have such strong demand here. So we're kind of a little bit insulated. Commercial stuff went on pause, especially big projects that, you know, a lot of the commodities like Alina was talking to, all of a sudden you can't get pricing on steel and aluminum. And these are massive long-term projects, and it's just really caused everything to pause. And then on top of that, you have the government shut down where, from a lending standpoint, they don't have any of the economic data that they're usually advising through. So it's really created some headaches. We are starting to see things open back up a little bit, but I think we're going to have a massive problem because we have such massive growth all throughout the country. And now we've put these almost like a vice grip around some of these commodities. And Alina's point, we domestically cannot produce as much as we need. So it'll be really interesting to see how projects move forward.
Yeah. Anybody else got comments on that one? I know it's more in line with commercial, and a lot of us aren't in that. So let's go to our next one. Oh, go ahead.
I'm going to say, unless it's a data center and nobody cares what those cost, and they just keep building them hand over fist. So.
Yeah,
Well,
we did a big story about that. That's a whole new animal / problem that is developing extremely fast, and nobody has a solution that I've heard yet.
Well,
I don't know
at some
if
point in
anybody's
time, those things have to make money because those investors are going to want their capital back out. So
Yeah.
when do you start producing revenue and income off them? But that's probably a whole different show.
Yeah, by itself.
Through our network, we actually just brought. There's a steel manufacturing plant that's being built in Florence, Colorado. So about an hour outside of Colorado Springs or so, and they're part of the real estate deal makers group. And just through networking, I connected them with a data center that is going to be building some data centers on their land. And it just works out perfectly as far as they're having access to steel and then all the other resources that come with the location that they needed for the data center. It just worked out perfectly. So they just signed like a 20-year lease to do these data centers, and they'll be right here outside of Colorado Springs.
Interesting. Yeah. They're building some mobile home modular homes down there as well.
That's the same company. They are you talking about Mitakis?
Eric Bonick.
Yeah.
Those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. They built the ADUs, and they're prefab made out of steel.
Wow.
Yep. Cool. Well, let's keep things moving. We got a lot of subjects to touch on here. So second subject, the compliance nightmare that vanished overnight. For a while, I know Dominic and I were going back and forth. FinCEN was going to require every LLC to drop their transparent or make everything transparent, right? So it was going back and forth. Finally, they decided domestic companies weren't going to have to open up and become exposed. So I guess anybody outside the country would have to file though. So how did you guys feel about that news when you heard that they were going to do that? And did you end up filing or not? So
which time? It seemed like it changed about every 2 or 3 weeks.
I know. Kept going back and forth with my attorney, like, hey, is this going through? Is it or not? Yeah, it was a wild ride.
If you're doing legitimate business, they already have your info, right? You have to get an EIN. You still have to file your S corp, your partnership returns, and all that. right? This is to capture the people that are doing stuff outside of business. So, I mean, the only people that were making any money out of it were probably the CPAs and attorneys that were charging filing fees to go ahead and do it for you. But you could file it yourself. It was easy enough. I have multiple LLCs. I did it myself, right? So it's not complicated, but it is part, it is part of doing business, right? You have to account for anything and everything. We talked about regulatory changes, tax changes, everything, right? So that's just the cycle of doing business.
It was just a time waste for a lot of us, especially who have multiple LLCs trying to fill that out over and over again.
Exactly. Yeah, I was like, oh, how many do I have to file? Like, do I have to? It just was like, oh, it hasn't passed yet. Like, I'll wait. And I just waited until finally it was like, oh, we didn't have to. So,
yeah.
This is the thought that I had when it came out. I remember the conversation I had with my friend from China. He was moving out of China just as they erected the law that Chinese capital cannot be in US dollars. They consider that, property can't be invested in anything or moved outside of China. I think that they were trying to put a cap on all of the purchases that Chinese citizens were making in the United States. And I asked him about this, and he said, oh, that's no problem, because they were using some entities from investing in a different country that is not prohibited by China. And then those entities were purchasing the real estate or anything, any assets within the United States limits. So technically, we don't even know for sure who owns the country. Well, or at least its assets or land. So I would actually be interested to have a little bit more transparency on that. But I don't know how asking of ownership on LLC would do anything, especially if it can be layered with different funds, or you can layer it in so many ways that you can never find really truly the answers with just the basic filing for the LLC. So just kind of my thought that I had when this came on.
Yeah. Okay. Our next topic, the smart money drew a map. So big funds like Blackstone kept investing in industrial and logistics while staying away from office investments, which that came up every month. What's going on with offices being empty? So it was an obvious signal where they think the future is, or at least it isn't. Maybe isn't offices. So when you guys see shifts like that, do you see it as a growth play or just a safety move? Anybody? Yeah, Dom.
I'm going to say you kind of need to look ahead. I mean, I'm primarily, single family residential, right? For all of us in this particular space, I can't speak for the commercial space, but single family residential, I mean, it kind of gives you some clues as to where the growth is, right? So if you're looking ahead to buy, whether it's rental properties or build single family or any business that you're doing on the single family side, you can kind of see where everything's being built out and kind of anticipate, okay, that area is going to get growth because somebody's already done the analysis, right? When they open up a Costco or a Starbucks or a McDonald's, that's your clue right there. Okay, even though it may not look it now, somebody's already done that analysis to anticipate, okay, where's the growth? So, I mean, use that as a tool rather than, I don't know, something negative.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, follow somebody or a corporation that's got
follow the big money, right?
Whole teams figuring that stuff out. Yeah.
I think for us as a small investors, there's also a little niche in there. Obviously, besides going and trying to do the same thing, the niche would be to look for a smaller commercial, perhaps conversions into little contractor shops. Those are fairly popular here, at least in our Midwest area, because contractors do need their space. They need a little bit of the storage, maybe logistics. So there's still, for us as individual investors, there's a good indication that this is where the future is going to be in commercial space.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
and
got-
from
Go for
a
it.
trucking logistics standpoint as well, I think it makes sense and something that I'm starting to look into, just because of the need for more of the like final mile or last mile transportation that's needed, because a lot of like over the road trucking has been changed by a lot of our trailers just being put on trains now. And so there's an increased need for the last mile sector of transportation, where those trailers are being moved by train, and then it needs to be broken down to have local deliveries. So taking these industrial spaces and turning them into warehouses for Amazon or your smaller companies to utilize as like the final mile space to get things in and out of, I think is another avenue that we could explore, at least to kind of get ahead of the game.
Sounds like dystopian United States in the making. Data centers everywhere, logistics buildings everywhere. So now you have to think about, how can those things be embedded? Well, you can't necessarily embed data centers into huge multifamily buildings, because it probably cause a lot of health problems and discomforts and things like that. But how do logistics centers integrate with large multifamily converted office buildings? If anybody's brave enough or dumb enough to convert an office building, something to think about. I don't know.
There's opportunity there.
Yeah. I just watched video how I forgot what country they're using data center heat, and they pipe it in through the water to heat residential. So their construction, the way they build, it specifically allows for this design to happen, because data centers are the most cost in a data center, believe it or not, and because I used to run data centers for Fortune 100 company, is heating the cooling, because the heat that produced is just enormous. And it's kind of interesting, if you build ground up, this would be a great design. But again, cost of materials and labor going up, I don't really see us pursuing that path.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very. Wow.
I mean, you look at
Let's
some
go
of
to our
the,
next subject. Oh, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, you look at some of the municipalities, like, what was it, 2 years ago, Costco wanted to build a new store in downtown Los Angeles, and the city made them agree to incorporate multifamily and affordable housing over the top of the building to get their approval.
Yeah. So that's kind of makes me think Amazon's going to start building multifamily buildings now.
I don't want to live right over the top of a Costco. I'd be broke.
There you go. Amazon, Walmart, everybody. Yeah.
$300 a day I'm spending
Right.
every time I go in.
Totally, man.
Oh, goodness. Well, hey, let's go to our next subject, the rent control line in the sand.
Oh boy.
Washington put up a statewide cap on rent increases, which really changed the math for investors. It made regulation impossible to ignore in underwriting. So if you guys invest in places like that, how have you reacted to rent control, or how would you react if it happened where you were investing or were thinking about investing? Claude, go for it, baby.
Easy. I moved.
Yeah.
I seriously, literally, I changed once again the word change. When government starts interfering in me, my wife and I buying a property, financing it, doing the improvements, the repairs, and we live part of the year in San Diego, or as I like to refer to it as the Soviet Socialist state of Southern California. And they start taking away my incentive to do the risk. Then I'm just not going to do it anymore. I'm going to move my investments to other. I love California. I love living there. A lot of family and friends there. But I won't invest in residential real estate like we used to do. I'll find other places. Pinehurst, Pinehurst, North Carolina, excuse me. We've been doing a lot there. Colorado. I know the other young lady is in Colorado Springs or Denver, I believe. I'm in Winter Park. It's wonderful here. It's still free enterprise. So why are companies leaving California? Because of too much government interference. And what they're going to see is the continued housing shortage with this kind of interference.
Great point. I know, like here in Denver, we say we're being Californicated, or something like that. It's our laws are changing, but we haven't caught up to California, so it's not nearly as bad, but it's heading that way, and we're all kind of like, should we invest outside? And some of us do both, right?
The greatest thing about being an entrepreneur is our ability to adapt to I always ask this to all my students that I mentor. Why are we in business? We're in business to make money today, to get contracts today, appointments, to do deals today. When there's too much interference with government, with regulations, with taxes and things like that, we're so adaptable because we're the entrepreneurs. We're just going to change. We're going to move. We're going to find different things to invest in, and people are going to suffer, unfortunately, with housing.
Did you guys know that there's actually a lot of major metropolitan cities already had rent control for a long time, like New York?
I'm from New York City. Yeah.
Yeah. Los Angeles, San Francisco, Berkeley, San Jose. I mean, there's a lot, and what it led to is essentially a shortage of inventory because capital doesn't want to flow there, and therefore it creates a higher demand on the existing market. So maybe if its strategy, as in you tell me if that's true, its strategy would be, maybe just come in and do fix and flip. I'm not sure, but obviously not the buy and hold. But anytime that you have a shortage of inventory, the prices would be going up. Maybe plan and appreciation. Not sure.
Yeah, every time I dive into rent control, the same thing always comes up. The existing landlords, they're capped, and they're not going to be putting money into improving these properties. And then the value goes down, they're less safe. Everything just starts crumbling because you're not letting the market do its thing.
Well said. Well said, James.
And capital, to the earlier comment, capital won't flow to those markets.
Right.
So
yeah, it's going to stop flowing.
They starve themselves.
Yep. Oh, Jay Mora just commented.
Hey, hi, Jay.
Our Claude Diamond group. Good to see you, buddy. He says to fill up the
Hip National Bank.
National Bank.
Why are we in business?
To make money now.
I'm not super familiar with the whole rent caps thing, but like, so does that apply, or is there like a workaround when you're renting like per bedroom?
That's a
I
good
don't think it's
question.
bedroom related. They're capping how much you can increase the rent. So let's say you've been renting for $1,500 months, and then this person, you cannot raise your rent more than, let's say, 7% a year, even though your expenses are not capped. So your taxes and your maintenance costs or association dues are remain increasing just as they want with the market. So what that means, your cap rates are shrinking and your margins are becoming slim to non-existent, and that affects the capital that flows into those places. Or again, you just stop doing value adds, right? You're no longer repairing, repainting, because you just can't do that. I wonder if this applies to like a short-term rentals, Airbnbs. Could you convert perhaps?
But if you, let's say you're capped at 1,500 for a standard long-term renter, and it's a 4-bedroom place, and you just decide to rent it out per bedroom instead, and now you're making 2,200 a month in rent, is that you exceeding the rental cap because it's
No,
a different
that
type
when you
of rental?
reposition the property, I do not believe that that's apply if you're able to do that. Like, but the thing is, if you have a person in there that is renting currently, you cannot just say, well, now you guys, like, I guess, I don't know if you can just tell them, hey, you have to move out because now I'm going to be renovating the place. I think it's possible that this is the workaround, but again, you don't want to be every year kicking your tenants out to reposition your place so you can get a higher rent. Especially if you have thousands of units, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Listen. Here's the truth that I see hiding. We got all these regulators and all of these politicians. They're going to start trying to dig their hands into co-living. So just wait on it. Just wait on it. It's going to happen, which is really sad and disgusting if you ask me. So, yeah.
But
It's
I
a
think
push-pull, right?
Yeah.
You guys all invest, as you see more of that, you see capital fleeing, like Claude said, from your market in California and going to other states. I'm in Idaho. Gavin Newsom has been the realtor of the year up here for the last 8 years. Every time he gets on a hot mic or signs some legislation, here they come, and we just back them up and take them in.
Horrible.
That's funny. Sad but true, right?
Antonia, can you elaborate a little more on what you said? I want to understand it better. So you're thinking that they're going to be trying to regulate co-living spaces?
It happens all the time. It happens all the time. Why? I don't know. Who knows? I mean, there's so much corruption in the government. It's like, how do you know which way to go or who to trust? So my point is it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if they try to regulate more on co-living to increase some type of tax revenue. That's what I'm thinking. I'm assuming that.
These things don't happen in a vacuum, though. I mean, what triggers it is the bad operators.
Mm-hmm. That too.
Right.
That too.
Yeah. That triggers the issues, right? And then the complaints, right? It happened with the Airbnb, right? So you have bad operators that trigger the complaints and trigger the issues, and now it brings to light what that investment strategy may be and what's the causes, and now they try to put controls over it.
Right? And that's the same thing that happened with wholesaling too. Now, Joe, you're in wholesaling, right?
I do a little wholesaling, yeah.
So have all the well, I'm not going to say all. So what market are you in right now? I'm
not sure what you mean. What market am I in right now?
What you're in New Jersey now? Are there?
What market? No, I'm in outside of Philly. I don't work the cities. There's too much of a problem working the cities. I work the counties.
I wonder how far the wholesaling quote unquote licensing reach is going to get in this coming year too, because it's been steadily increasing over the last few years. Which to me, it seems ridiculous.
Pennsylvania already requires If you're going to be a wholesaler, Pennsylvania requires that you have a license.
Like
So-
Dominic said, too many bad actors have shined a light on, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah, I can
It's
see.
the
I
easy
mean,
money that draws in a lot of bad actors, right?
Yeah.
Or their perception of easy money, right? And then they start operating outside the bounds, and they're just winging it, and they're doing, YouTube University, and maybe some gurus out there, and so forth, right? So it just becomes, and then everybody jumps to the next thing, go for crypto, probably silver now, right? Going wholesaling, all these strategies. It's the hot thing, and it just draws attention to it, right? So I personally believe in policing ourselves for us that are in the industry, and kind of,
Yeah.
right? If we don't want more regulation, then we need to police ourselves and say we got to operate in a certain fashion.
True.
And each other, calling out the people who are out here doing stuff that, is unethical.
Well, to Dominic's point, this is usually a reaction to bad operators or a bunch of bad operators that all of a sudden it brings light to what's going on, and here comes regulation and oversight.
Well,
Yeah,
the realtors out there, guys, aren't thrilled with us to begin with. So I think every suggestion you made is great. Got to police ourselves and all that kind of stuff. But they consider us, taking money out of their pockets with what we're doing. I don't care what else they think about us, that what we do is illegal, immoral, fattening, whatever they come up with. But, to them, at least the realtors that I talk to, we're taking money out of their pockets. Not that they could do what we do. Not that they'd want to do what we do. Certainly they don't know how to do what we do. Okay. I mean, I was a realtor. I even helped train realtors, and, they're salespeople, and they drive people around in their car, and they fill out forms, and some are good at it, and most of them aren't. But when it comes to, you say the word lease option, and their eyes start to roll and they start to sweat. You know what I mean? What's that? And so they're not trained to do what we do. And my personal opinion is it's not so much that we're doing illegal bad things, is that we're taking money from them and they don't like it. And they don't have any control over us, and they really don't like that. Having been a realtor and been around these guys, that run the local real estate commissions here in Pennsylvania, I mean, they really don't like investors like us for a variety of reasons. But the two to me are that they don't have control, which they really don't like. And they're to their mind, even though they don't know how to do what we do, they're losing money. And that's why, in my personal opinion, they come after us.
Yep. Wholesalers are go-getters, and there's a lot of agents that aren't willing to put in the work and learn all this stuff, right? And like you said, lease options. Like I teach a continuing education class about rent to own. It's going to open their eyes. I don't know why every realtor in Colorado doesn't take that class, like chomping at the bit to add some knowledge and tools to their belt. They're not. They're just. It's yeah.
Well, their brokers don't want them to do that. You got to understand. I don't know if any of all you guys are realtors, but when you're a realtor, you got a broker, and that broker wants some of your money. Yeah. And he don't want you wandering off somewhere doing some wholesale deal, and he ain't getting any of that money. Because when I went into this business, I was a realtor at the time. Well, you have to understand, I when I worked for my father, I was building houses and developing ground and doing all that stuff. When I switched, and then I went to be a realtor after he retired, and I went out on my own. And most realtors don't make a whole lot of money. So I wound up luckily going into creative real estate, but I was doing creative real estate deals when I was a realtor. And the last thing I wanted that realtor to know is what I was doing, because he would want some of my money. Now, he had nothing to do with what I was doing at all. Okay. It wasn't his paperwork. It wasn't his, I didn't work out of his office. I didn't use his phones. It had nothing to do with what I was doing. But if I had told him, he would have wanted the money. Okay. So it's, again, it's control, and they don't want their realtors learning what we know how to do.
Yep,
I
that's a
don't know
good
if you
point.
guys know last year in Illinois that you have to be a licensed to be able to
Yep.
do wholesales. I don't know
Yep,
how
that's
what
coming.
other states you guys at. So
Not in Colorado yet, but
Same in Pennsylvania. You have to get licensed now.
yeah,
Okay.
so they figured out how to get their cut.
You know,
Well, you know, they want your dues. They want you to pay your MLS dues. They want your money. I've been there. I'm telling you. Okay. I mean, they're nice people. I'm not saying they're bad people or anything, but the guys that are in charge, you know, it's a commission business. You don't want to fight with these people over their commissions. Trust me. Okay. You do not want to do that. And the brokers override a certain amount and they want their due. So they want you doing what they want you to do, not what you want to do. At least that's been my experience at any rate.
yeah. I can see both sides. Like, I mean, there's been a lot of people wholesaling subject to deals, terrible subject to deals, terribly set up. And if there's a little regulation, I can see that helping, you know, those owners, sellers that were in a bad position and hopefully avoiding really putting them in a worse situation. So, Gabrielle,
No, I
you
agree
were
with you.
going to say something.
I agree with you. I think that you do have to have some regulations, absolutely, on what we do. Otherwise, you guys were talking about, you know, the people that come in here and screw everything up. Okay, so I agree with you 100%, but
Yeah.
to a point. I think
Yeah.
as long as the consumer's not being harmed, that's to me what's important. As long as you're not harming the consumer, the buyer, whatever he is. And so I do think we should have some regulations that would keep these people in line. I don't think you have to go out and become a realtor because we don't do what realtors do. So why should we become a realtor? I mean, that's my look at it. Okay?
Right.
Having been a realtor, we're furthest thing away from a realtor than you can get.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, James, as well. Like it's almost like my tagline at this point. I'm Gabrielle Simmons and I buy houses. I'm not a real estate agent because, you know, people assume that if you do real estate or you buy houses that you're a real estate agent. And like you said, Joe, real estate agents don't do what we do. They don't understand what we do. And I have never wanted to get licensed, but I do see the importance of like it helping just because there are bad characters who do very unethical things. And I've seen it firsthand, you know, where wholesalers are going in and lying to sellers, creating fear, you know, doing deals with sellers who have dementia, you know, and just things that aren't right. And unfortunately, so long as we're bandits that aren't regulated, we can do those things. And so that's, I guess, the benefit to that being enforced a little bit is it does protect the sellers who are being taken advantage of.
And I agree with that 100%. I think there should be some sort of overseeing organization. If we put one together, hey, look, the realtors put it together. Okay, they put their own organization together.
Yeah.
Why can't we? And it
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. We can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, we've got a comment in the chat. It says, what's a really smart way to buy property? I live in Mississippi and the real estate rent/purchases are slow. When I ask this question, I'm asking what states and cities are the best places to buy and why.
Cash.
First question I would ask, how many properties is Gerald trying to buy? Is it just one? Then right where you at is the best place. If you're trying to buy thousands, then you need to look into markets.
Best way to buy a property, depending on what stage of your investment career, is cash, of course. It gives you the most negotiating power. If you have the cash or you have an investor you're working with and you're good at finding and negotiating deals, you have the greatest gravitas when you can negotiate a cash deal with somebody. If you're just getting started, you're a neophyte and you're looking for true leverage, what we've been talking about, the lease with option or something like that, is a great strategy. The thing about it is, when you have your funds, what should come first, the chicken or the egg, the property or the investor to sell it to? I've always found that if I found a good deal, I could sell it to somebody else if I didn't want to get involved in the repairs and the marketing and everything else like that. And kind of what we were talking before, I have no employees. I've been there. I've done the employees, the team, the office. I work out of my homes now. I just give good phone. When I talk to people, I try to cut to the chase and skip the hi, how are you? Just reaching out, the la-di-da kumbaya stuff. And I hire very good subcontractors. I have a great attorney. I have a great real estate broker who I work with exclusively in different markets. So I have people I know and trust. I don't mind paying them because they help me to avoid complications, litigation. They help me to make more money. So, hire good people. And so what if they make money? Make sure your deals are big enough you can afford to pay experts.
Well, Gerald said
one of the things, Claude, that I tell him to answer his question about where he should buy the place, I always tell people you should start right where you are and just keep going out in concentric circles till you find what you want.
Yeah.
Just make your market wider, but just start where you are. Don't go, well, I'm living in Mississippi. I'm going to go look in Texas. Well, why? You know what I mean? Start in Mississippi and just keep getting bigger areas.
There are so many gurus who give bad advice to people who are neophytes, starting investors. Oh, you've got to go to this place or that place. And I agree with you 100%, Joe. The best place to start, if you're a new investor, you're not sophisticated, you're learning. We've all learned, we all have whip marks on our backs from the mistakes we've made, is start in your backyard.
Mm-hmm.
You know the valuations, you know the people, you know where to look, you know where the growth is, you know things, just common sense. Start in your backyard.
Gerald says some of the tenants are wanting to buy and they can't go to the bank or don't want to. That's two different things. Is it a good idea to become the bank? And if I do, what a great way to do this. Any comments on that? Lease option guys?
Are you talking about, are you talking pro or con against becoming the bank? Were you pro
I
or
think
con on that?
the question is here not becoming the bank in the sense of giving lending money, but becoming a seller finance, because this is 15. I think this specific question came in from girl that has already 15 properties in Mississippi, and I'm guessing the slow means that his rentals are slow. It's slower to rent out. I'm trying to clarify his question here, so we can answer more, specifically to what his situation is.
Yeah, don't do DIY. Get a coach. That's what I say. If you've never done it,
get a coach.
Get somebody that'll teach you how to do it. Do it the right way. Stay in compliance. Get a team around you that knows how to do it. If that's what's going to be your focus. If you're going to do one-off, two-offs, maybe not. But if your focus is to dispose of your 15 properties in that fashion, then you need somebody that can teach you how to do it the right way.
Yeah. Reach out to any of us that know lease options. We can kind of point you in the right direction.
Looks like Claude.
Yeah, I find that I didn't want to own homes. Okay. If you don't own the homes, you don't have the problems. When you're in a sandwich lease option in the middle, to me, I always had a lot of options. I mean, look, if something went wrong, I could walk away. I mean, I just have to pay them what I would owe them for the year, whatever the case may be, and walk away, and I'm done. I don't have banks chasing me. I don't have officials chasing me. I can deal with the homeowner. Okay. I mean, I can renegotiate. I can do whatever I have to do. But I like being in the middle rather than, being the homeowner and being the bank, because you still have all the problems with home ownership. Okay. And plus the fact I'm old now, so I'm not looking for equity build. I'll be dead before I get any equity build. Okay. So when I was younger, yeah, maybe okay. All right. But at my age, the last thing I want is to, have all these homes and then croak. So, and leave a mess for a lot of people. So
Claude, what do you got?
Who said become the bank? That was genius. Who was that? You, Mr. Brown? Or
I think it was Joe.
That's the
He kinda
question.
saying it.
Yeah, that was the question.
Becoming the bank is probably the greatest avenue to success, because we all know real estate can initially be feast and famine. 1 month you're rich, a couple months you're struggling for the next deal, and so forth. Developing your own finance. I have a file here just to show you guys, so it's not guru BS. I take in tens of thousands of dollars every month, almost six figures every month, just by financing. Some people pay me $100, some pay me $250, some pay me thousands per month. I finance my deals. I sell my contracts. I finance products that I sell, my coaching program. I will finance anything, and people pay me on time. And never underestimate a small amount of money coming in on a long-term, consistent basis, because a lot of people who get into real estate they're doing these, on paper, I'm a millionaire on paper, but you're sweating paying the mortgage payment or the cable bill, right? I mean, truth be told. So if you can find ways to have multiple streams of passive income by financing, that's a key to success. I'm sorry if I go too long. I apologize, but I get passionate about this because that's what got me to having a pretty good life in this business by not just waiting. I remember one more quick story. We got my wife and I, new baby. I'm in law school. We've got like 12 properties that we fixed up, repaired, and everything like that. And I just did a deal on Monday. I got a huge $10,000 check. And on Friday, I said, "Hey, honey, let's go out and celebrate. Let's get a babysitter." And she said, "With what?" And I said, "I just gave you 10 grand on Monday." She said, "That was to pay for the other 3 months you didn't make any money." Okay. So is it okay to tell the truth today, or should I sugarcoat it?
Yeah, that's what this is about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whoever said become your own bank, that's genius. Yeah, you triggered me.
And I'll add to that, the properties that I've purchased on seller financing where they become the bank, they, in a couple situations, they wanted the big lump sum of cash that they would have otherwise got had they sold it outright instead of becoming the bank. So you can then go to a bank and borrow against that note, right? Like if that's what you're looking for is more cash, go borrow against the note that you're holding for your tenant who becomes the buyer of the property from you. And now you have that lump sum.
Yeah. You could use that note as leverage in a negotiation on another deal. Sometimes you don't want to hold a note because it might be weak, or you're concerned about the payments. Use that note as currency in another transaction. You're out of the note and you got the property instead. It works both ways, right?
Yeah.
This industry is too good. Too good, man.
Yeah,
too good.
I love this creativity.
That's the
Let's
word.
take a break to learn about one of our partners. Yeah.
I'm Jim Jones. You've heard me inform you about real estate industry news, but at this point in the market, headlines are cheap. Prices make the news, but prices alone do not explain why so many households feel stuck, why ownership keeps concentrating, or why the monthly cost of housing keeps rising even when activity slows. What actually matters is understanding what people are paying every single month, how ownership is shifting beneath the surface, and where risk and opportunity are quietly moving before they show up in public narratives. That's exactly why United States Real Estate Investor Research exists. United States Real Estate Investor Research publishes data-driven research that breaks down the data the way investors experience it in real life. Monthly ownership costs, taxes, insurance, rates, rent pressure, investor behavior, market structure, and much more. These vital data points are the forces that shape decisions long before a transaction ever happens. United States Real Estate Investor Research's comprehensive reports are built on real numbers and real conditions, not recycled talking points or emotional forecasts. Designed for investors, operators, and professionals, United States Real Estate Investor Research reports are for people who want clarity before making decisions, not explanations after the fact. United States Real Estate Investor Research is where that picture becomes clear. To download reports now, visit usreiresearch.com now for the insight you need for long-term ownership. Again, that's usreiresearch.com. United States Real Estate Investor Research. Real numbers, real clarity.
There we go. For Gerald, our last commenter, you can go into usreiresearch.com and poke around and see what's going on in other markets. So let's get back to our next article or topic. Is the smartest tax escape hatch stayed open? So luckily, 1031 exchanges survived another attempt at eliminating them. And bonus depreciation was reinstated. So, man, how would things look for you guys if those went away permanently? How would you adjust?
Honestly, I think that tax strategies start from the entity formation, because larger funds and the smart investors don't necessarily just do the regular LLCs. For example, using some well-structured self-directed IRAs and or other entities would just completely eliminate for need to 1031 exchange. It's more like a patch after the fact that you have already got into something and now you have a high capital gains or enormous depreciation you took over the years and you just need to move on. So that probably wouldn't change anything for me specifically because we have different structures. But just to mention that also depreciation, you can either have 1031 exchange if you have depreciated and had asset that you held up for a long time and then you want to roll it back in, or then have a write-off, essentially take everything off and write it off if you're doing like a fix and flip strategies like what we do from time to time. So there are two things that are not related to each other. I just want to kind of like separate them a little bit for whoever's listening. Is 1031 exchange and then the depreciation and then taking in your write-offs. Those would be two separate things for two different strategies. So I kind of just clarify if anybody's listening. Confused on that.
Well, I know how much the night of the 4th when they signed the tax bill, everybody was blowing up my phone talking about bonus depreciation again. So we did see in our local market, we saw a lot of spur in capital investments, be it real estate, hard asset equipment, things of that nature. And one thing that we don't talk about in there now is now that opportunity zones are now permanent. And so I think that's also another side of the coin. On the flip side of the 1031, how the opportunity zones are going to impact capital injections into underperforming markets.
Yeah. Claude, you raised your hand.
You're on mute, Claude.
I say that about 18 times a day to my clients, and now I'm doing it, right? Unmute yourself. For me, we track expenses. I'm lucky. I work with my wife, my best friend, and she's great at the meticulous stuff. Okay. I'm good at the sales and the fun stuff, creating the deals and everything. She's great. So we track the expenses really good. We have and she prepares everything. We have a phenomenal accountant out of Colorado. who's on top of the law and top of the deductions and all the other things. So get good advice. Work with somebody who does accounting, state and federal tax research as a full-time career is my opinion on that. We lease our cars because I can write off so much of the lease. We pay quarterly taxes, state and federal. Live in the right state, by the way. One of the biggest ones, can I talk about my mistakes in life?
Heck yeah, that's the most valuable. I'm incorporated. I have an S corp and all that in Delaware. I pay my taxes in Colorado, but my kids went to school in Wyoming. Guess where I should have set up residence? They have no state income tax there. Okay. So, there's smart things you can do where you live. The world is so small today. You can live in one place and do business in another. But you want to be in a place where you pay the least taxes and you have the best people advising you. Yep. Anybody else on that topic, or should we jump to the next one?
Well, I'll tell you, Claude, my father used to tell me all the time, was surround yourself with people that know what the hell they're doing and get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
That was his basic, if you surround yourself with people that you trust and know what they're doing, don't try to second guess them. They know what they're doing. Just get out of their way.
My accountant,
which is what I try to do.
Yeah, my accountant he's pretty expensive, but he saves me 10 times more than what I pay him. That's just good value.
Yeah. I agree.
Same, I have a financial advisor. Same thing. He's made me over the last 25 years a lot of money in good investments. I don't have the time to research stocks and mutual funds and stuff. Hire the smartest people. If they don't work out, fire them and find somebody else. The thing about it is, what do we do? What do we do best in business? We find deals, we negotiate deals, we get contracts. The people in this room know how to make money. Okay, but there's too many. Can we all agree there's just too many distractions in the world today? Mm-hmm. Why not do the one thing we do best and hire other people who do what they do best?
I want to close on it and then just make a little distinctions between your accountant, CPA, and tax strategists. The tax strategists are usually the people that are not CPA, or they understand what CPAs do, but they are not doing your taxes or tax returns or books. They're the ones that are deciding how you're going to position your entities and how you're going to essentially run your overall umbrella. And the CPAs, typical CPAs, do not understand the tax strategy. That's usually a family offices that are able to afford the tax strategies. And then there's something that you as the investor need to be aware of. There is ROBs, there is self-directed areas, there's a lot of entities in the way that you can structure it the way that the wealthiest of this country do. As a small investor, you can replicate that. And just a word of caution, no, not all CPAs. Most CPAs do not understand tax strategies. Just so the listener understands that they need to look for tax strategies first and foremost.
I just want to share something I learned recently from someone who's been in it a long time and was educating me. We were talking about 1031s, and he was telling me that I could do, I sold a property and was attempting to do a 1031, wasn't able to identify another property fast enough. And he's like, well, why didn't you just 1031 into a royalty or do a royalty trust? And I'm still learning all about that, but essentially it's where you can 1031 into royalties in oil and gas, and it's a little more volatile. So there's potential to lose some of what you put in there, but there's also potential to gain. But then you're deferring your taxes, and there really isn't that like time limit on it now. So you can, if it takes you a year, if it takes you 2, it can be held in this royalty trust, and then you can pull it out at another date and reinvest it into property of like kind, because these oil and gas royalties are considered of like kind, even if you're selling a single family home or a small multifamily.
Interesting. I haven't heard that.
Ariel, when was that last time? Because I thought the Trump administration has taken that away, and they only left like exchanges. From what I remember, maybe they have reverted that back in and allowing this again, because I remember that was kind of my disappointment that they have taken away exchange for something that is not of the same asset class.
That's been as was explained to me, that's been the common misconception, is what's considered like kind. That oil and gas actually is considered real property, just like real estate is. The types that aren't would be like stocks and bonds. That is not considered, or putting it into an REIT, that is not of like kind.
Got it. Okay, that's a good distinction. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah. Another option, you can do a reverse 1031, where you identify your next property, lock it up, and then sell your first one. It costs about 5 times as much, but still could be worth it. So you don't have a clock ticking that could run out. So
if you're paying 5 times as much, is it not worth it to just pay the taxes then?
You can do 721 exchanges where you exchange into commercial real estate held in REITs too.
Yeah, 721s are good too. Good
into
point.
Commercial, what'd you say? I'm sorry.
Commercial REITs, real estate investment trusts.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a good, like if somebody's going into retirement, and they want their money working, they just don't want to deal with all the headaches.
Well, we deal with
Just
people.
get into something like that.
It's great if you have a lot of heirs, and rather than trying to divide up the value of residential real estate, you can give them shares instead of a 721 exchange. So it's a little bit more fair and balanced. So you deal with people who have, 5, 6 kids, and they're like, how do we divide this up? And they end up doing a 721 and giving each one of them an equal amount of shares.
Yeah.
Good for legacy planning.
Yeah.
Where are you getting this kind of information
let's go
from?
to our next
Nowhere but here. I'm saying you're not getting this kind of information anywhere but a show like this, so I love it.
Diverse panel.
Yeah. Distill it down. So our next topic, California admitted the math finally won. California changed how wildfire risk is priced for insurance. Coverage got easier to find, but a lot more expensive. So for you guys, is insurance now something you underwrite first instead of just last, like, the afterthought?
Insurance.
Shaking your head.
Insurance has killed a lot of deals over the last couple of years in coastal states, Florida, Carolinas, California.
Yep.
Claude, are you in California?
Let me check. No, I'm in Colorado.
Oh, that's right.
Sometimes, we change so often that sometimes I wake up and I go to I walk into a wall because I can't find the bathroom. Yeah. What was your question, Antonio? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just wondering if you or anybody else was in California. That's all.
I live part of the year in San Diego. I love Southern California.
Are you
not investing?
I used to be much heavier as an investor. I owned a lot of residential properties, condos, townhomes, single family homes, and I kind of saw the writing on the wall. We liquidated a lot of real estate there before the pandemic. I'm grateful for it. You know, there's two good days in real estate: the day you buy and the day you sell. Sometimes it's good to just get out of it and go to a different location. I've been looking heavily into other states in North Carolina, Colorado. I have a lot of clients. Somebody mentioned Idaho before. A lot of clients love Idaho.
We'll take
Coeur
your money.
d'Alene, stuff like that.
For you.
Those of us who live in California and Southern Cal, we have a love-hate thing going. We hate the government, but we love the weather. We love the fish tacos and In-N-Out Burger, and we can go to the beach, we can go skiing, we can go to the desert. It's just, it's so crazy when you go to a pump and you pay $5 a gallon and for gas there and stuff like that.
Oh, it went down.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
Yeah.
How do you think gas, not to raise a question, how do you think gas is going to affect real estate? You think people are moving to places where it's more affordable? Sure.
Yeah. Especially if they drive Uber or something for a living.
Well,
It could make or break them, right? Yeah.
Good point.
Or the trucking industry, like Gabrielle's in. So, well, let's keep things moving, guys. The next topic: the office market finally snapped. Office space investments defaults rose. Lenders stopped waiting, and pricing finally reset. Do you guys see this as the bottom for office space, or is it just the beginning?
Man, it's gotta be. It's gotta be. I did so many stories of people selling at massive discounts. I don't know how much worse.
It's got to be the bottom.
It's gotta be. I mean, I would think. I don't know.
I don't know. I think this is just the beginning because our technology isn't as perfect for the remote workplace. So there are still companies asking people to go back. But I think with virtual reality and with better tech and people realizing that the possibility that they can actually introduce the same environment, that somebody can be sitting in the office like this and I can be seeing virtual people walk in and out and we can really replicate the real world, and it's coming, then I think the office is just going to be something like a record player. New generation wouldn't even understand what that is.
Wait, she referenced what EXP has been doing for years.
That's exactly. The only thing is that there are virtual people like an avatars. What I am seeing and envisioning it is this virtual reality. It is as if people walk in and I see them as it would be and they see me, that they can still see my facial expressions because our communication is only 7% words. Everything else is, tonality, the body language, and you are losing that if you are just doing this even on the Zoom call. So I think the technology, as it's coming in the next couple of years, is just going to bring in that bottom of office space will find the basement.
So here's the question I have. You guys are a lot smarter than me. So if you have all these office buildings all over the country and they're absolutely vacant, and a lot of people are doing remote work from home, which means there's no need to be in the office. So if you have these buildings that have been sitting empty for years, St. Louis was one of the cities where I'm originally from. They sold a building for so cheap it was unbelievable. They lost tons of money on it. So if they bought that building, what are they going to do with it? Because I keep hearing conversions are an absolute nightmare and sometimes just impossible. So, I mean, what can you really do with a giant office building that nobody's really using? I mean, is it even worth trying to convert that thing?
Local regulations. I think when local authorities going to start losing tax revenue and they would just be taking over those properties, that are having enormous maintenance, and they will try to find a way to get rid of them, then we're going to see pressure on local authorities to allow conversions again into residential if there is the need, or maybe some other, social gathering places, right? But it's just inevitable.
So it's probably going to take, like you were saying, governmental intervention. That's the only way it's gonna. Yeah.
They need to feel pressure, and the pressure in a sense of they're either not collecting taxes or they have to repossess those properties because the office building forfeit on the taxes. So I do not see office space recovering, even with the fact how some companies have a push back for work from office. I think it's just temporary until technology catches up and a new way of tech will allow us to literally replicate our in-person work environment.
Interesting thought.
And in connecting with some high net worth individuals, I've learned that this is actually appealing to some of them to purchase these because it's at the bottom. They can get in at a low price and then just take advantage of the depreciation. And if they believe that at some point they can resell these buildings in the future, then it's worth it for some of them to just get in, utilize it for saving money on taxes, and hold on to it.
I mean, if they can cash flow, otherwise it's just basically a lot of expenses.
That's kind of the Blackstone play too, right? They're buying new builds and they're holding on to them for 3+ years, and then they're letting them go for a profit. Interesting.
Land is still worth something, right? Even if the building has no worth, land beneath it, right? I mean, so we talked about a couple of things going through this, right? Data centers. Could you put data centers in these buildings and go up instead of wide, right? You go up, and then same thing. Somebody mentioned tax consequences, right? So if you buy it, deplete it out, basically almost like a oil well, get all the tax benefits of it down to zero, and then just the land itself, it may have to get, the building may have to come down and just use the land and redevelop again.
I could see that. Yeah, that's a different type of conversion that would be a lot less hectic to try to pull off. Yeah. Huh.
If it's possible, because not every place you can convert to a data center. It's just the enormous amount of HVAC and the electricity needs and the pipelines that gonna have to be with multiple data fiber optics from multiple different providers that you have to have. There's just so much going into building out at the data center than building out anything else. The infrastructure is critical. You have to have multiple power supply, the multiple suppliers of your utilities. Because the redundancy is at the core of a data center. Also, you do not want to have a data center at any place where it is susceptible to any cataclysms. So when we were placing in the data center, like with collaborating on the data center location, there was more places were disqualified than qualified. So just kind of on that note.
Fascinating.
Let's keep things moving. When rate cuts stopped mattering, Fed rate cuts, they don't necessarily line up with mortgage rates. And Dom, as a lender, you know a lot about how this all works together, and it kept refinancing slow because it didn't drop down to where everybody was hoping that it would go. inventory's tight. So there's a lot of ways we could go with this. But to kick things off, like how has the rates kind of just stabilizing affected you guys? And what are you going to do if the rates stay the same or go up? Or where do you see them going?
Yeah, there's always been this misconception that as the Fed cuts rates, it impacts term rates, right? On the long curve, I'm talking about the 10-year Treasury. I think right now the biggest thing we probably anticipate is the spread between the 10-year and mortgage rates to compress. Average typically is 1.7 or 170 basis points. We're probably like at 215 basis points right now. So that's the spread, that the risk spread basically from what lenders do to what the 10-year Treasury is. So that needs to compress. That'll help us get a little bit lower, but who knows how this market is going to act, right? Especially no speculation as we change. New Federal Reserve chairman comes in, and this expectation that he wants to push interest rates down, but it could have a reverse impact. It could have a reverse impact, right? Because that doesn't control the 10-year Treasury or the long bond, as they call it, right? So we could have a reverse situation there, and we don't know what these outcomes could be, right? What's happened in the past may not happen again. So, I'd be wary of anticipating and putting in your plan expecting rates to be a certain way, and I'm referring to on the lower end, right? If you're counting on rates, say you're borrowing on short-term debt or bridge debt at 5% today, or let's say 6%, and you're counting on your numbers or your underwriting to account for being able to refinance at 5 or 4.5. A lot of people got trapped in that, right? As of 2020, right? You saw all the agents going, marry the house and date the rate, right? How did that work out? That's the dumbest slogan I've ever heard. But anyways,
an ugly divorce.
Yeah. So I'd be cautious with that. I mean, but as we're talking about everybody in here, right? We have there's different strategies to be able to acquire properties that there's already has fixed debt. You know what that number is, right? When it comes to seller finance, subject to lease options and so forth. So there's a way to pivot from that as it relates to the retail market as a lender on the traditional consumer side. I tell people, if you can afford the payment now, get in now, because if rates do drop, then prices will go up, right? Don't wait, right? Especially people that are entry level buyers. And say, hey, they need a down payment assistance program or something to that effect. It's like, well, the rates go down, you're going to have a lot more competition, and a lot more investors are going to jump right back in, and they're going to push the prices up, and you're not going to be able to compete. And we may get into another situation where, hey, we're going to have the overbidding again, right? So, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 over asking price. If we get down to rates, let's say in the 3s or 4s, right? So entry level people will never be able to get in. So this is the best time to get in, because they could always refinance if it happens. But if it go up, then you're already locked in and you could afford it. So
nothing's free. It's a teeter-totter, right? Rates go down, prices go up.
Honestly, if your rate is less than the inflation rate, real inflation rate, not the reported one, I think it's still a bargain.
Yeah, we're talking about two different things, right? If you're going to live in it versus from an investor perspective, right? So owner occupants are one thing, investors are another thing. So your mindset has to think about, okay, what are you doing, right? Is this for you, for your use, or is this from an investment perspective?
So. We saw a lot of apartment syndicators get pinched when they definitely shouldn't have. They should have known, right? Like a lot of those are 5 to 7 year shorter term debt. They've got to refi at some point, or stick with what they got. But a lot of them got pinched. They didn't didn't think it was going to go up, and they had to were forced to refi. And some of them, the numbers didn't pencil, so they're having to fire sale those deals.
we've seen some of the institutional and the private capital extending these notes out because they know otherwise it's going to end up leading to a default, and they don't want to put that on their sheet. So they're working more with the investors. Some of them are working with the investors for resolutions. But to Dominic's point earlier, that spread is so wide right now because all the lenders are figuring if we see a decline in rates and all of a sudden you start having mass refis, they're going to have early payoffs. They're going to have a lot of runoff on their books. And so they're trying to capture everything that they can right now in upfront revenue. So that's why you're seeing points and fees so high right now, where typically they haven't been as high in the past.
Does anyone remember 14% interest rates back in the Stone Age?
18 and 19 too, yeah.
Yeah, Joe and I have. Today, I don't know, after that experience, and I think back in 81, interest rates on residential mortgages were as high as 18% for a while.
Yeah, 18, you're right, 18.
Yeah, so today when you tell me 6.3% on a residential mortgage, that's the price of doing business. Make sure you have enough spread, you're making enough money on your property. One of the tips I give to the people watching this is when we had a good month in my business, we would, legally, you can't get a prepayment penalty on a mortgage anymore. So if you had a good month, and you threw a couple extra bucks into the mortgage payment, which would offset the principal, I found that many times a 20 or 25 or 30-year mortgage could be reduced to a 15-year mortgage, thereby artificially reducing the interest rate.
Well, you're seeing prepayment penalties come back on non-owner occupied.
Really? On residential? Really?
You'll get a better rate. You'll get a better rate if you lock in for a 1, 2, 3 year prepay on it.
Okay.
And we're seeing yield maintenance come back on commercial deals, which I haven't seen since the early 2000s. So
What's yield maintenance?
So yield maintenance is, let's say we finance you on a deal today, James, at 6.5, and the market drops down to 5.5, and you want to refi. It's a form of a prepayment penalty. We're going to capture the spread of that point, and we're going to charge you a percentage of that as a prepayment penalty to exit the note.
Mm.
So it's another way of saying prepayment penalty, but they call it yield maintenance. And I started seeing those come back about February or March, and I'm like, wow, I haven't seen those for a while. And it's kind of like disco. Everything comes back. You wait long enough, it'll come back. So they're back.
I got some platform shoes in the closet somewhere.
Yeah, bell bottoms are next.
Yeah. God bless Donna Summer.
God help us all.
And I was just gonna share, real estate in general is risky, right? And we all know the ups and downs, and sometimes things that happen in the market we can try to prepare for as much as possible. But even myself, hit a wall at some point, over leveraged too many properties, and had to go to my private money lenders and just be like, hey, I can't make these payments, and that's what it is. Will you work with me? Before I ever missed a payment, and being able to just have them sit down and understand, and I explained it hey, look, here's you loaned me this money because I gave you this projection of what this property would do. And here's what my portfolio is doing as a whole. It was good. It's no longer good. Things changed with Airbnb, right? And so I have to pivot now. And that's affecting my ability to make these payments. But I think that's a part of real estate as a whole, even for individuals who are buying their family home and taking bad advice to marry the home, but date the rate. We all have to understand that things change, and sometimes we have to just go back and ask for grace, ask for time, ask for payment plans, instead of just walking away and defaulting. That's almost never the answer.
But I think you are smart and proactive, and I've told people this, when you get in front of it, when you call them and they're not having to chase you, you're more likely to get a workout.
Yeah.
Good point. I've been working a bunch of short sales, people facing foreclosure. They don't have that mindset. They don't understand how all this works. And so they just bury their head in the sand until the very last minute. It's sad that they end up in these positions. And I try to help them, but sometimes they can't be helped, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a break. Hear from our next partner.
Are you looking to elevate your business through exceptional content? Universe Media Publishing is your gateway to success. We understand that in the world of business, content is king, but not just any content. Your business deserves content that captivates, convinces, and converts your audience into clients. At Universe Media Publishing, we specialize in crafting SEO-rich web content, persuasive copywriting, and marketing copy that resonates with your audience. We don't just write, we engage, we connect, and we deliver results. Imagine your brand's voice amplified, your message crystal clear, and your presence dominating the digital landscape. That's the power of partnering with Universe Media Publishing. Don't let your business just blend in. Stand out, be heard, and make an impact. Connect with us at Universe Media Publishing, and let's turn your vision into reality. Visit universemediapublishing.com today. Your story, our expertise. Together, we'll create magic.
Okay, back to the show. Our next topic, Washington quietly changed its housing strategy. Recently, lawmakers started talking more about building supply instead of subsidies on the demand side. So do you think they'll actually be proactive and help build that supply? Or will they just continue to think short term and put Band-Aids on the problem?
Yeah, that article talked about changing the rules for manufactured housing, right? So as an entry-level point for housing, I mean, that is a great niche if you're an expert at that, right? Manufactured housing on the retail side, we can lend manufactured housing. But if you're an investor and that's your niche, whether you're buying those properties, as seller financing through seller financing or sub-2 or acquiring properties on, discounted, however they may be, manufactured housing, I think, is a great niche to get into moving forward as, the cost to own and housing expenses continue to stay up. I think that's an excellent model or business to get into.
Yeah. The same with co-living, renting out rooms separately in a house and, getting some economies of scale there. Like Colorado, as an example, passed a statewide law, making it okay to have, there's no limit to how many unrelated people home. And so that's helping with the affordability problem by making some laws like that. So if they follow suit with the manufactured housing, that's going to help as well. So it's a good trend. So
it's already happening. I know out here, I mean, Arizona passed a law where you can build a 2 ADUs to a single family property without any restrictions by the city. The city does, or the state doesn't allow for cities to restrict you. HOAs are a little bit different, right? But non-HOA areas, you can. And then on January 1st, to affect basically any single family zoning, you can build up to four units. So you go multifamily up to 4 units on anything that's single family zoned in Phoenix without having to change the zoning.
Yeah, they've loosened it up here in Colorado as well. I think there's still some restrictions. I mean, you still have to have a big enough footprint and be able to get your utilities in there. But yeah, they're definitely trying to solve the problems.
Are we seeing
What are you
people
guys
actually doing it though?
Actually building ADUs? Yeah.
Yeah, here, and I mean, and
partners
it's one of those things, right? So if you already own it and you want to build an ADU, how do you finance it, right? It's usually the issue, the hang up. How do we finance that? So it's either through equity if you already own it, you live in it as a single family, right? So equity financing, getting a home equity loan. But I mean, if you're gonna buy it that doesn't have it, right? No, you could FHA, conventional, Fannie, Freddie, and VA do have a renovation program that allows you to build an ADU as you acquire as well. And then if you want to acquire it off market and as an investor, then I mean you could finance it through hard money loan and see how you're gonna. Obviously, the ARV has to be there, and you obviously need to find comps, right? So you're buying in an area that already has some other properties. So somebody's got to set the market for those values with ADUs, because that's not a big mix in the market as it relates to resales, right? So, but I think that's coming. You could do it privately, right? You could borrow privately, set the market, sell it, and then kind of build out neighborhoods that have ADUs, right? And then that just resets the market.
That's a good point. I know we had somebody come to our investor association meetup talking about building ADUs, and when we were looking at the numbers as an investment, at least the models that they had where you're building a garage and a unit above, those were expensive. Like they didn't pencil as an investment, at least not initially. It was more of a good fit for, somebody that really wanted it as like a, granny flat, or there's different names for them, where you're building it, you're getting some value for your family.
Yeah, the reason why it doesn't is because the valuation isn't there. You're not getting dollar for dollar for what you spend, right? But it still costs you the same dollar per square foot to build it, right? But you're getting below grade value on it, right? Until the market kind of grows, and now you have comps that are sold, and that you're getting the additional square footage at the main house rate. That's why it doesn't work currently in many markets, unless you buy it deeply discounted. You go off market and buy it deeply discounted. Now you're building it into your ARV that way.
Yeah. I know my financial advisor, he and another guy are starting a company, and they've got 3 different models, and they don't include a garage. It's just a living space, and that was kind of where the numbers started to make sense. Anyway.
Yeah, and it's always every strategy doesn't work well in every market, right? I mean,
sure.
So just like any other strategy, in some markets, especially in high cost markets, it's making a ton of sense, right? California is doing them, Washington's doing them, right? I think it's just trickling over to us here in Arizona. So I think those are the things to look out for the next wave.
Yeah. Alina, what were you going to say?
Address the law that the bill that hasn't even passed into law yet about the mobile home chassis. Something that I think this is more important than the first step of us as a country admitting that we are literally very short on low income housing. And if that bill passes into law, which it hasn't yet, it will be incredible step into at least starting to relook from the financing, and that may maybe address that, into financing them as a single family home. Because at the moment, what I believe is the biggest obstacle in mobile, in manufactured home communities is essentially obtaining reasonable financing, which are backed by HUD, Fannie Mae. And this step, even though it seemed like unrelated, with the chassis not having to be permanently affixed, may change this from the financing standpoint, because affordability is not just a number of houses. Low income just cannot go and magically pull out $50,000, $60,000 out of their savings. So just if someone wants to address or familiar with the financing for the multifamily manufacturing home communities, I'd love to hear the opinion, because that's what I'll be looking as my focus in 2026.
Yeah, so on the financing side for manufactured housing, right? So yeah, you brought up a couple points. So it's you. So you have two. You have what we classify as chattel, right? The whole term chattel, where it's just the mobile home, but doesn't come with the land. And then there's the land. So when it's a fix or it comes with the land, it's already a fix and it can't be moved, right? So those are two different types of financing. So the one that's just chassis, right? You treat it almost like a car, right? And then the one that's affixed to land, then that's financeable as single family, right? So those rules are in place by the GSEs or Fannie Freddie and HUD on the FHA side. And obviously, if there's influence to change those rules, then that'll trickle into like traditional financing and single family financing. And obviously on the investor side, hard money and so forth, they have their different rules. But to address your question, yes, so those rules will need to change to either have a little bit more flexibility. But there's a reason why those rules came into effect, right? It's just basically, hey, typically mobile homes depreciate, unlike single family, and that's why those rules are in effect. That's why you can't get 30-year. Well, you can on double wide 30-year financing on FHA, but typically if you're just going to finance the chattel like a car, it depreciates, right? And you don't get 30-year financing on a car. You get 5, 7 years, maybe 8 years, right? So on chattel mobile home, you can go up to 20, 25 years if you got really good credit and significant down payment. But on the one, if it comes with land, so always, I always tell people, it's like buy it with land because it has more value. Because even if the chattel depreciates, the land is still worth something, right? And you can move it and bring in a new one.
I mean, I believe they're depreciating just as fast, like if they're permanently affixed to the land or part of the land of, let's say, what I'm personally looking into, conversion and subdividing land into the parcels where that can become possible. They really depreciate in about the same rate as your single family home. It's the land is appreciating, but the property itself, your mechanicals, everything it's all deteriorating in about the same rate. I think probably even less now. So then the house that was built, 100 years back that is sitting on the land, it's worth nothing other than what's the value of the land is, because it's unlivable. So I think that the rules hopefully will change after this bill will pass into law, and financial industry will be forced to look into specific manufactured mobile homes affixed to the land as considered that, hopefully as a single family residence.
Yeah, I think the quality over time too, right? Because you can't finance anything over 1978 under FHA, but so the quality has gotten better, and I think some of these modifications will help improve that. It's just a natural. So the expectation of the life expectancy on some of these will probably improve over time. But yeah, to your point, yes. So even if it's the same mobile home, it's affixed to the land, but versus the one that's not affixed to the land, yes, they depreciate, they deteriorate at the same rate. However, from a financing standpoint, HUD made the rule that, hey, if it's got land in it, we're willing to take more risk on that one than one that doesn't have land on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if for some reason that land gets sold from underneath you, then all of a sudden you've lent on collateral that no longer exists. So that's always been the problem. Like because you can finance in a park as long as the remaining term of the master lease exceeds the term of the mortgage and you have voting rights. But to the affordability standpoint, I would love to see this take off and like to see more of it. And you kind of look at sometimes the manufacturing process. All these homes are manufactured inside of a climate controlled facility. They're all on the specs. They're all 2x6 construction. They have to meet hurricane, earthquake standards where that may not be relevant to you. But the problem, like where we see, is everybody's buying up our mobile home parks and converting them, but nobody wants a mobile home park anywhere near them. And the people who need the affordable living need to be close to a bus line, need to be close to mass transit. They need to be close to all these other things. So as we work to solve one problem, we displace people, and it create just, I love the idea. I just would love to see the mechanics of it to see how it's really going to help.
I'm start seeing local, some of those manufacturers, actually, they no longer have a zoning, at least in my area, because I looked into it, they no longer have a zoning as mobile home parks. They have decommissioned that verbiage in itself. Now, if I were to go for rezoning here, I would be zoning it into manufactured homes zoning, which is, I think, branding mobile home parks into a little better category, which is great. And also, I've seen some of those communities that from those manufactured homes, they actually look just like single family homes. You cannot tell the difference unless you really know the know.
I would love to see it happen because I feel it would really help serve a large portion of the populace who's locked out of housing right now.
Yeah. That would be I'm super excited that next year I've been already looking into this and then seeing if that's something with the regulations coming in and with the, the ease of maybe trying to rezone it and finding the place. That's what I would like to refocus, away from my fix and flips and into that.
So is this draft legislation, or is this a bill that's already made it out of committee and headed to the House?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's got sponsorship in the Senate and in Congress as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so some good things are coming, but it's only first baby step. It's just so much more has to happen, but it will be forced to happen if that were to pass and go into the law.
Let's go to our next topic, guys. The commission collapse that never came. After all the drama around compensation for realtors, anybody who's listening in, commissions basically stayed the same. I've got a bunch of thoughts. Maybe I'll just jump in. So I think the reason they didn't change is that it's a very established industry, and the reason they didn't change is that realtors have always provided value, and it just has settled in. Also, this is kind of a little thorn because I'm a licensed realtor, and there was a lot of media and attorneys claiming all these things, basically saying that the compensation was like locked up. It's always been negotiable, and they kind of made it seem like realtors were trying to take advantage of people. But like I say, it was always negotiable, always has been. Another thing that everybody, all the realtors were like, oh no, what's going to happen here? Well, commercial real estate, it's always been separated. So their compensation is part of the offer, the contract to buy. But residential realtors weren't used to that. It was kind of preset by the sellers. We're getting down in the weeds here, and I'm not explaining it well. But anyway, residential realtors thought the sky was falling, but when it came down to it, nothing changed.
This story was it was one of the biggest stories of the year. And it was so hilarious because it was a roller coaster from beginning to end. As soon as the Missouri ruling happened, everybody started pointing fingers at each other. Everybody was pointing fingers mainly at the realtors. And all the people were starting to sell their homes themselves. And they were like, I don't want to give my money to you. And this is unfair. And Oh man, the drama was probably the highest with this story over everything else.
Yeah, that
It was
got crazy.
Yeah.
Guess who won in this case? Attorneys.
Yes, always. They always win.
Yeah.
What was their commission percentage, James?
Oh
My goodness.
Yeah, that's crazy. And we'll probably see the backlash because that was one side of like buyers versus sellers. Now it's probably going to flip flop, and there's going to be a bunch of money made on the other side. So, anybody have some comments on that? I think I'm the only one that's a licensed realtor right now, right? Yeah.
A lot
Joe,
of
you
talk
do.
about nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joe left that world behind him.
Yeah.
Yes,
as
sir.
an investor, we're always like, oh, should we get licensed or not? One of my lease option mentors said, hey, you need to get licensed so I can facilitate lease option deals, especially the way that we do them. It's been hugely beneficial for me to be licensed. No, I'm not wholesaling, and so I can't, like Gabrielle was saying, she can, say, hey, I'm not a licensed realtor, like, because most people don't like or trust realtors, right? So it's good to kind of use that as a talking point, really, But I find for me, the benefit of being licensed has been beneficial, and especially getting going too. I learned a lot about the industry by going through all the licensing and learning the business from that side of it too. So anyway,
so that commission number was that I just found 33.3%. That's absurd. I don't know.
That's irony.
Yeah, totally.
Dom, were you going to say something?
Yeah, that's a question since the beginning of time. If you ever got into, whenever you got into involved in real estate as an investor or any method, right, is to be or not to be licensed, right? Is it better or is it not better, right? I've kind of changed my own personal view on it. I used to think, oh, it's not even worth it, or it's a headache, or what do I want to mess with that? And that can be true depending on what your strategy is, right?
Yeah.
I really believe that. Obviously, if you're doing multifamily, who cares? What do you need to be able, you don't need to do all that, right? But if you work in the single family space, I think it adds credibility, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to work with agents, right? Who's your avatar in that sense, right? For what we do, right? We work with agents, so it adds credibility. The fact that you're licensed, right? So if somebody doesn't deal, if they're only dealing with sellers, traditional sellers or off-market sellers or distressed sellers, then maybe not necessarily. But you could be passing up opportunities where somebody's trying to sell, you can't buy it, or the deal doesn't fit your box. But the fact that you have a license, could you do it as a listing, right? So vertical integration within your model. So you have to think of that.
Listen, right? That's the thing I was going to say. The hack is just to have your best friend be a real estate agent. That's it. Solves it all.
That too. Yeah.
It can be. Like Dominic and I both teach classes for realtors about the rent-to-own strategy. And so I think, I know for me being also an agent, not some, out of left field wholesaler, creative financing guy that, like they know that I'm held to the same standards and understand how the business works.
It opens the door for you, right? Because of what you're doing and who your avatar is, right? It opens the door, gives you credibility. You're part of the crowd of them, right? They view you as that versus an outsider per se, right? And then sometimes you just have to educate people, right? It's like, hey, if this opens the door for me and I can be in the room to educate them on it, so they're not afraid and not scared and don't want to point the fingers. And as Joe mentioned, they don't want to, treat us as, hey, we're different, or we're stealing from them, or it's their money or their commission, whatever that may be, right? So, there's some of that we need to do.
Yep. Well, let's go to the next topic. America quietly changed where it was moving. The Sunbelt markets cooled off, while more affordable markets like the Midwest got attention again. Cash flow and predictability started beating appreciation hype. Are you guys seeing that shift where you invest or where you live?
Well, I'm in Midwest, so I have to say the difference between our market and then all the, coastal areas was always that we never had the volatility. Even during COVID times, or even in 2008, the crash after the Great Reset, we never had a huge ups and downs, and been always kind of like wondering how's the property can appreciate like 3 times. Like, well, 20% is great. Here we've seen migration of people from like the cities to the suburbs, from between different areas, but we've never seen big ups and downs like a coastal area. So I think Midwest, for any investor in general, it was before and it is now, is that we always more stable cash flow asset, and we're not as much of an appreciation strategy here. But again, this is not something new. That's always been like this. The coastal areas always were up and down. This is just another wave of the same thing that happened in the past.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It seems like most investors are focused typically on the middle of the country because of the stability. It's not volatile, like you said. Yeah.
It cash flows, it just doesn't appreciate.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
You build wealth through appreciation, but you can't count on it. that is another, timeless argument or, debate. Cash flow or appreciation or both. Like, where do you go? And a lot of it depends on where you are in your investing journey and your risk tolerance. There's a lot of factors that go into that. Claude, got some comments on that?
Well, we used to be a hot investment. We were a hot investment market for 2 decades, and then COVID hit. We had mass migration here, and our housing prices since 2015 have almost tripled. Incomes have not. So now we've seen many of our investors, to Alina's point, they're heading to the Midwest. So I did more business in Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee in the last 5 years than I had 20 years prior. And acquisition costs are low, cash flow solid. You just don't see the robust appreciation you see in other parts of the country.
I say always look for the undiscovered country. Look for where the new opportunities are going to present themselves, where the new growth is. Where are people moving to? Where are people retiring to? I'm in a little ski mountain town here, and it exploded when the pandemic hit. It was a quiet, sleepy little town with little $45,000 condos, and now they're $1 million condos here, and multi-million-dollar homes all building. So look for that. Where is the next opportunity? Where's the next best place? And just on the previous discussion, I had a new 18-year-old client, real go-getter kid, an immigrant, by the way. And he said, Claude, should I get a real estate license? I want to learn as much as I can about real estate. Take a guess what I told him. Anybody? I said, get it. And this kid is doing fantastic. He's so entrepreneurial. He's so hungry. He owns a car wash now. He learned everything about real estate, right from the real estate office. And he learned about the law and different strategies and things like that. And maybe instead of spending a lot of money from a lot of seminars, motivational seminars, he was out there in the real world. So, just my take on the real estate agent part. I think for some people, it's the perfect avenue.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's keep things moving. Go to our next topic. Recession proof was a lie. More than one healthcare company apparently sold properties that they owned to REITs, real estate investing trusts, basically big funds, and then did leasebacks. And then they ended up going under, which left these REITs with no tenants. So I think a lot of investors, including these big REITs, maybe just assumed, hey, healthcare is booming. There's so much money in it. They'd be safe investments, but apparently not. And it got me thinking too about the process of underwriting these healthcare businesses. We've underwritten multifamily deals. That's a whole different thing than a healthcare company, And then it got me thinking too, like back when I was doing marketing, graphic design, I had a client that actually his business was going in and evaluating healthcare companies if they were planning on selling mainly, but he could also represent a buyer and help evaluate that business that they're buying it, and getting involved in the property itself. So, would you guys assume that those REITs brought in an expert like that, or just winged it and assumed that they were a safe tenant? Any thoughts?
I would assume they winged it to some extent, because once you get to such a level, you just start assuming things. That's human nature. That's my assumption.
Hard to say. Yeah, got to do our due diligence in this business.
Well, I think healthcare as a whole is such an interesting industry, and there's so much volatility in it, and so. But it's never going away, and the need is always growing. So it's figuring out how you can fit in and what's a good strategy.
Yeah.
And I think looking at the operator is important too, not just revenues. If we make purchases or are willing to give out loans strictly based on revenues, or more largely based on revenues, and not looking at the operator and their background and their ability to pivot, then we're kind of setting those opportunities up for failure too.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great point.
Let's go to our fun news item. The great lock-in of 2025. Trend of the year. So they're talking about years of uncertainty and inflation and basically exhaustion from the hustle culture. A lot of people have just kind of started shifting towards comfort and staying put as it relates to real estate. So rather than moving for adventure reasons, they're moving for what they call cocooning, or just staying in their homes and not moving around. So
I had no idea about any of this, and I I found it. I was like, apparently this was huge. I probably caught a little bit of it, but maybe I'm just one of those out of control people who are not trying to take a break for anything. And the thought of people spending money just to go somewhere and be away from everything, media, phone, mobile, so they can just sleep with nothing. I mean, to each their own, I guess. Yeah.
Digital detoxing is becoming a thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's pretty much what it was. I mean, maybe it's a matter of a lack of self-control, and you have to force yourself to have self-control. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
like
having
for
fun.
yeah. Antonio and I haven't let grass grow under our feet recently, so this is
I know.
not
Look,
connecting.
it's December 27th, so that's the proof right there. We're doing a live stream right here, 2 days after Christmas. Hey,
Yep.
life don't stop, as they say.
Any comments from the rest of you?
Yeah. Can any of you see yourselves buying a hotel room just to sleep?
I've actually started to, I didn't know this was like a thing, but yeah, I've started to take some of this on just for my own sanity, because I very much have embodied the hustle culture and go 24/7 and work from the time I open my eyes till I go to sleep at night. And just probably in the last like year, I've taken time to cocoon, if you will, either at home or I've had a couple little getaways where I will not turn my phone off. I still end up working, but I just like make it a point to work a little bit less than I would have otherwise. And I do think that it helps kind of recalibrate my mind so that I'm not so like high strung in everything constantly. It helps kind of just bring me down a little bit, and then I'm able to analyze things better than I would have otherwise.
You know what? I got a quick question. Let's see if anybody here is similar to me. I am not a fan of taking breaks. I like to work. And when I take a break, I'm done. Okay, good. I'm not alone. People like, you need to take a break. And it's like, no, because if I take a break, I won't get anything else done. So, Claude, is that you, Claude?
I love my work. I could have retired a long time ago. This business, I'm very grateful to this business. It's been nothing but wonderful to me. And my logic has always been never take vacations. I hate vacations. They lose your luggage. The weather is bad. So my wife and I have always said, let's not take vacations. Let's live them. Let's live in places where other people take vacations. And our businesses, the wonderful thing about this business is if you're real, you got a niche, you know how to market yourself, you're very good at sales and negotiation, you can live wherever you want. The technology has given us the opportunity for the most wonderful lifestyle in the world. So, I think, isn't it great to live in a place where you work in the morning, then you can go out and take a hike or go skiing or go to the beach or play some golf or do something. Life is short. We all have friends and family who died way too young. I say, yes, we all have to hustle. We all have the hustle, but let's work smart, right? I always ask, how come some people can make so much money and other people always struggle? What is it about? What is it about this business? Why is that some people can do better than others? We all have 24 hours. We're all relatively in the same IQ factor, right? So what is it that the people in this group have that other people don't have? And I think there's what's that expression, work-life balance thing, right?
Yeah.
Are you working so that you put a value on your time, knowledge, and energy, or are you just doing a lot of busy work that doesn't give you any gratification financially?
If you need work-life balance, you're not necessarily enjoying what you're doing. That's what I think.
Yeah.
So you have to create a life that you enjoy,
Yeah. The thing, I love this business. I can't retire. It's too much fun. I meet wonderful people. It's challenging. It's rewarding. I mean, solving the problems of housing and things like that, while being able to put food on the table and pay, your bills. It's the greatest business in the world. Can we all agree on that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Amen.
It really is. And I think, I discovered one thing about myself, and I'll shut up. I used to think I was an introvert, that shy guy and never raised his hand. And then I had a great mentor, and I thought then maybe I'm now an extrovert. And I discovered this year that I became an ambivert. I love to talk to people and start conversations and negotiate deals, but I also like a quiet moment with a good book and go into the corner and, get a nice blanket and read a book and have a good cup of coffee, so that balance, when New York's coming out, I'm saying too much. Any ambiverts? That's my new word of the year. Any ambiverts in the room?
I'm pretty sure that's me. Yeah, because I've spent the majority of my life not wanting to be bothered. But it's like once your mindset shifts and your goals start to shift, everything else just changes. Because it's like if you have these goals, if you're this way, you're not going to make it to the goals. So you have to change. Yeah.
James, does the squeaky wheel get the grease?
James, you're on mute.
You're on mute, buddy.
Your mic's not connected. Uh-oh.
There you go.
Yeah,
You got it.
I actually was laughing about the hotel. I did have taken one time just use my points to go in a hotel room, just kind of like collect myself and use that time to pause and to think. I thought myself crazy, but I'm like, what else am I going to use points? I already live in a really beautiful location. I travel all the time. I was like, how could I do that? And that's what my use of the points was. And I did kind of giggled a little bit. I was like, yeah, I thought of that myself. I guess I'm just caught in the wind of everyone else doing it.
Yeah.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
My AirPods died and it muted me. Well, let's jump into our last news topic from nickwignall.com. 5 alternative New Year's resolutions. The article presented 5 alternatives to traditional New Year's resolutions designed to reduce guilt and increase long-term follow-through. These approaches included choosing a word of the year, running short-term New Year's experiments, committing to anti-resolutions, selecting a person of the year to invest in relationally, and adopting a highly ambitious 10x resolution. So, anybody have any resolutions that you're committing to?
No. I never do this. And I always think about that thought happens in 2 seconds and it's gone. What do you get? Anybody else do that or?
No, I think what happens with the New Year, I actually did a webinar on that time because it was my background as an NLP trainer and mindset psychology coaching. I think that the reason why people set up the resolutions, which are mostly like a wish list, and then not going after it, is because what they want is indirect contradictions to their values. There is a value conflict within, and they really do not know that. Very common value conflict, as the example would be, people want to create more wealth and abundance, more income. However, their top values are like family, connection, and then they have a very deep fear of rejection, as well as they are averse to money, or they have a wrong belief in what money truly is. And that would create literally a dead gridlock on any New Year resolution. And then people's like, well, yeah, I wanted to do this. Or the health, right? The health is one of the most common resolution goals, is to create, better body or have more energy. And then they set a goal of, let's say, pounds. How many pounds you're going to lose? All those things are just not going to be done past 1 or 2, 3 weeks, because the actual deeper reason why you do something is what matters. And I always ask people, like, have you asked why do you want to do this? Because that's where the fire is. And if you ask yourself for anything that you wanted in the past and maybe you haven't achieved it, or you haven't had that fire burning long enough, is keep asking why. If you want to go and lose weight, why? Well, I want to to have better health, why? And then 7-layer deep, if you had that strategy, that would be the main suggestions that I would give.
Nice.
What's your purpose?
Mm-hmm. Which should come down to your purpose.
My resolution is to never have resolutions. Basically, people set these once-a-year goals: the health, lose weight, and everything that Alina just said. I think one of the things I do every day, I have a to-do list. I write down every day what I want. I get into you can develop good habits. I exercise every day. I run, I swim, I sauna every day. I try to speak to at least 5 new prospects or follow-ups every day. Daily consistency is better than just doing this once a year silliness. Okay, you have to have a consistent routine and behavior, and you can accomplish wonderful goals. And just old school, I write things down every day in a journal and things like that. And does anyone else write their things to do on a piece of paper like I do? Isn't there a certain wonderful satisfaction when you cross those things off? Don't you love that? And you say at the end of the day, hey, I had a good day. Look at all the things I got done. And you can also be a little critical of yourself. Look, I didn't get anything done that I wrote down. And then maybe carry it over to the next day. Constant reminder.
It's always better to physically write things down, because that's a physiological connection to your brain that technology doesn't give us.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I actually bought one of those clickers, when you go to an event and they're clicking the button for when people come through. I bought 2 of those that I could set on my desk. So if I make a cold call, boop, I hit it. And then at the end of the day, I write it in an actual paper calendar.
Yeah. Smart.
Yeah. That came from Russ Lagan. He's got a cool book called Be Followable. And he's like, turn it into a game. Otherwise, there's just some power into gamifying things like that are painful.
Claude has systems and structure, and I think it's Tony Robbins said you will rise or fall to your systems and your structure.
Yes. Yep, I've heard that.
Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes. So that's why New Year's resolutions. By Valentine's Day, everybody quits going to the gym. They start drinking and eating chocolates again because the motivation has gone away.
That's right.
Yep.
I don't do the resolutions, but last year was the first year that I started off by saying, okay, I have a phrase. And you mentioned the article was recommending having a word of the year. Last year, 2025, my phrase was, how you do one thing is how you do all things. Mm-hmm. And so I don't quite know what my phrase is going to be for 2026, but just making that a phrase that could stick in my head, I would recite constantly, helped me be more productive and not delay things, because I had a tendency to be like, oh, I'll do it later or tomorrow or whatever. And I'm still relatively highly efficient in most things that I do, but I was delaying things more than I would like to. And so utilizing that phrase, how you do one thing is how you do all things, really helped me just get more on it.
Love it.
I gotta go, guys. I'm sorry.
All right, Claude. How can people connect with you?
Oh, your audience is so beautiful and intelligent. I don't need to promote any. They just have to Google Claude Diamond if they like, or my phone number is 619-206-5960 if they want any of my books or anything. Thank you so much for interesting conversation. I really appreciate it. And I wish nothing but health and prosperity in 2026 to everyone in the room and everyone watching. Thank you.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks. Thank you.
Later, guys.
Cool. All right. Well, that covers the news portion of the show. I'd like to thank our sponsors, United States Real Estate Investor Advertising, Universe Media Publishing at universemediapublishing.com. And of course, thanks to our guests, Paul Anderson, Joe Bodick, Claude Diamond, Alina Herman, Dominic Danino, and Gabrielle Simmons. And of course, Antonio Holman, our founder and producer. Why don't you guys let people know how you can connect? We'll start with Paul.
If you want to reach out to me, I just recommend going to verticalfundingcapital.com. I'm also known as Boise Lender on all the social media platforms. So I'm always available for consultation calls and love to work on creative deal flow. So I want to thank Antonio. Thank you, James. Thank you. It's great to do this again. And next year, let's plan to do it again. Let's talk about what's going on in Socialized New York with their rent control.
There we go.
Yeah, for sure.
Line up the first topic.
All right, Joe.
I want to thank you guys for having me. Thank you, Antonio. Appreciate your invite. You can reach me, guys, at realestatementoringusa.com. Real easy to remember. realestatementoringusa.com. Or if you want to call me at 484-297-2152. Really easy to find me. Or you could Google me. You probably find me that way too. But once again, it was nice meeting all you people, and look forward to doing it again.
Joe, I'm waiting for you to rock us on out with the outro with those guitars you got back there. So next year, get ready.
Year I'll have it down for you next year. Yeah.
Perfect.
That'd be awesome. Let's see, Alina.
Oh, well, gosh, this was actually really good. I love the news articles. It's been the most interesting to discuss. You guys always have the most amazing crew coming in and almost amazing guests. So thank you so much for putting in the work and perseverance and to putting it together. I know how much willpower and passion and discipline it takes to put this together. And again, if anybody wants to reach out to me, I'm on LinkedIn, and if you search Alina Herman, you should find me in there. You can also contact me at alina@idxm.com. If anyone interested or have any questions about personal development, business growth and strategies, or tech IT. So it was my pleasure. Thank you so much again.
Awesome. Dominic.
All right. Well, thank you guys for having me on. It was a pleasure and nice to meet everybody. And if somebody wants to get a hold of me, if you're an agent or lender or aspiring homeowner, or you've been turned down by the banks, you don't qualify for traditional financing, I can be reached at any of the socials as Mr. Rent-to-Own Homes. I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and X as Mr. Rent-to-Own Homes. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to help you if you're in the situation where you can't qualify for traditional financing.
Cool. Gabrielle.
Yes, you can find me by going to our website, dealmakersco.com. My phone number is on there. Feel free to reach out, call or text. You can also find me on Instagram, InvestorLadyG, or a Google search or Facebook, Gabrielle Simmons.
Fantastic. All right. Antonio, any last?
Yeah. I got one last thing, which, we're on, we're flying by the seat of our pants. So as I said before, I don't have any resolutions, but the more we kind of thought about it and talked about it, I was like, oh, I do have something, but I want to hear in roughly one sentence, what is the main business focus that each of you have that you've been thinking about to do for 2026? Gabrielle, what you got?
I'd say personally, just for myself, goal is to acquire my first commercial property. And I've been attempting. I've been under contract. Well, one I was under contract, and then one I didn't get to that point yet, just negotiating with the seller. But I feel like I'm getting close to finally acquiring my first commercial property. And then for our company, for Real Estate Deal Makers, goal is to close at least 200 transactions within our deal desk.
That's good. That's good. Alina, what's your main focus business goal for next year?
There probably be two different ones. One is start doing events, hosting events and doing training as far as personal development and helping business owners to create a correct mindset and grow their business from the technology and as well as at a standpoint and then their personal mindset. And the second one would be is to look for a great acquisition of land and to make it into manufactured home community. I think that this is a passion of mine to create low, affordable, low housing that's beautiful places to live for people. And I think that would be a great route. Hopefully the laws will, be a wind in the sail.
Yeah, really. Joe, what's your main focus for business next year?
Well, as you know, Antonio, I like teaching. So my whole goal for next year is to bring in at least 100 new students for lease options. And that'll make me very happy.
That'll be good. That's good. I like that. Paul, what do you got? What's your main focus for next year?
I think I'm starting to come full circle with this after being around this for close to 40 years now. I'm in talks to move out of daily operations and take more of an oversight and a development role with a couple different companies and manage residential construction lending. So I'm getting out of the day-to-day, and this still allows me the freedom to do all my commercial and other stuff. But I'm really enjoying going into markets and working with small and mid-sized builders who are trying to compete against these large national companies and get them capitalized and try to help create. I don't know if there's such a thing as affordable housing anymore, but more affordable options for the consumers and keep those little guys in business.
Yeah, that's good. That's different. You're about to step into a whole different world. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating. Dominic, what do you got? What's your focus for next year?
Muted.
The saying goes, go deeper, not wider.
Yeah.
Right. And so my hyper focus is just reaching a broader audience for our program. So probably going to do some paid ads.
Paid ads to deepen what you're already doing.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Love it.
James, what about you, sir?
I'm going to hyper focus on being an investor focused agent. And I don't know, let's tease a little bit. Antonio and I are putting together a bunch of cool stuff. Probably a new podcast coming along with some partners of mine in the co-living space. And then we're going to build out a network of investor-focused agents so investors can find agents in different markets. So we're creating a huge network through the United States Real Estate Investor platform. So cat's out of the bag. That's what we're working on. Yep.
We have a lot of things that we've both been kind of working on and brainstorming on that are starting to intertwine intelligently, which is super cool because this year should be the year. I don't see anything stopping at this point where I can actually launch Real Expert Talks, where we can have people like you find expert people on the platform to help other people get personal one-on-one insights from you directly on video calls. So that'll be amazing. So eventually I'll have to talk to you each and get you in the fold on that. My main focus of what I'd like to do for the platform is I'd like to really increase the research data that we can provide for people like you. Because if you don't have the proper data, it's still a lot of guessing, a lot of people talking to this person, that person. But if you have the hard data and the numbers from previous years, previous months, previous decades, that helps so much more in the future to make smart decisions. So that's one of the smartest things that I think we can do is increase real data and give it to investors to help them move farther. So that's my focus there.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, let's close it out. If anybody wants to connect with me, you can go to Linktree/partner with James Brown. And if you want any help, reach out to me. You can also go to jamesbrownrealestate.com/coaching. Let's see, follow and subscribe to This Month in Real Estate Investing at thismonthinrealestateinvesting.com or your favorite podcast app. And if you run across any interesting news, events, or have suggestions for expert guests like we had today, feel free to share by emailing Antonio at UnitedStatesRealEstateInvestor.com. And remember, when one door closes, another door opens to financial freedom. See you next year.